Hello, everyone. This is the Committee on Education. It is Tuesday, April 6th. The time is 2:02 p.m. And via video conference, we are in conference room 309. Just to do some quick house rules before we get started, in order to allow for as many people to testify as possible, there will be a 2-minute time limit per testifier. So please keep yourselves muted and your videos turned off while you wait to testify and after your testimony is completed. The Zoom chat function will allow you to chat with the technical staff only. Please use the chat only for technical issues. If you are disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may also be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note that the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on the testifier's end. In the event of a catastrophic network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or to schedule a meeting for decision-making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please refrain from any profanity or uncivil behavior as well. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin. So with that, we will jump right into our resolution hearing. First up, we have SDR 9, SD2, and we have the DOE, Beth Shimel Fanning. I tried, I'm sorry, Beth. Beth, I think you're muted.
Got it. Hi, my name is Beth Schimel-Finnig. I'm the Director for the Civil Rights Compliance Branch of the Office of Talent Management. I'm testifying in behalf of Dr. Christina Kishimoto, and we stand on our written testimony in support of this bill.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Up next, we have Young-hee Overly, AAUW of Hawaii, in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of committee. My name is Young-hee Overly. I'm the Public Policy Chair for AAUW of Hawaii, and I'm also representing Hawaii Women's Coalition. We stand on our written testimony, and I'm here to answer questions you may have about what's in our testimony. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Up next, we have Nora Gallo, Every Voice Coalition, in support.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm Nora Gallo. I'm here representing the Every Voice Coalition, as well as some students that were unable to testify today due to timing constraints with class and work. And I stand on my written testimony in support and am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. That is all I have on my Zoom testifiers list. We also have testimony in support from the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission. Also in support, Lori Fields from Planned Parenthood Allies Advocates. In support, with Amy Monk from the Women's Caucus of Democratic Party of Hawaii in support, along with Chris Caulfield from the Democratic Party of Hawaii Education Caucus in support, and Chris Caulfield again from Inua Alliance in support. We have University of Hawaii providing comments and a number of other individuals also in support. Is there anyone else on here that would like to present testimony? Seeing none, we'll move on to SCR 38, SD1. Up first, we have Department of Education, Randall Tanaka in support. Not present. That is all I have on my Zoom testifiers list, but we also have the Research and Development from the County of Hawaii in support, Office of Hawaiian Affairs in support, Brian Miyamoto from the Hawaii Farm Bureau in support, and Liddy Burnell from the Hawaii Farm to School Hawaii Public Health Institute and the Obesity Prevention Task Force also in support. Is there anyone else on here that is wishing to provide testimony? Seeing none, we are going to go back to the last, is it okay? Oh, okay, perfect. Members, there's no one to ask questions of for this measure. So we're going to go on to the next one. SCR 100. Up first, we have Jennifer Ryan from the Hawaii State Department of Education providing comments.
Aloha, my name is Jennifer Ryan. I'm here on behalf of Dr. Kishimoto from the Department of Education. We stand on our testimony offering comments.
Thank you for being here. Up next, we have Kara Jabola Corolis from the Hawaii Commission on the Status of Women providing testimony and support. Not present. Up next, we have Laverne Moore from HSTA providing testimony and support.
Aloha. I'm Laverne Moore speaking on behalf of Corey Rosenlee, President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. We stand on our written testimony in support of Resolution 100. By providing these products, our middle school and high school students, we will promote gender equity in our schools, as well as to ensure that these girls from lower income homes do not miss out on their education simply because their families can't afford to buy these products. Additionally, this should be a service given in all Title I schools. We provide breakfast, lunch, and bus passes. We should also provide this service. The Hawaii State Teachers Association urges you to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. Up next, we have Nikki Ann Yee from Ma'i Movement Hawaii in support.
Aloha, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Capella, and committee members. I thank you very much for this opportunity to testify. I'm co-founder of Ma'i Movement Hawaii, and we stand by our written testimony. Since the last time I was in front of you testifying, we actually wrapped up a pilot program that included students from elementary all the way up to the university level in Oahu, Kauai, and Hawaii Island. I just wanted to share a comment from an 11th grade participant at Farrington High School that speaks to SCR 100. She said, "I almost always get my period unexpectedly during the middle of a school day. I feel discouraged because I wasn't prepared and don't have extra pads on hand or don't have the money to purchase one at school, and shame to ask classmates for money to get one." In this same program that we ran, 1 out of 5 people said that they had to prioritize essential household items and expenses like food or utility bills over period products. I appreciate the intent greatly of SCR 100 and just want to emphasize the importance and urgency. We are acutely aware of the gaps in our society exposed, especially during the pandemic, and SCR 100 is an opportunity to address that. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you for being here. Up next, we have Moana Olaso, where I Support Girls Hawaii in support.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in support of SCR 100. I'm the affiliated director of I Support the Girls Hawaii, and our children need our help. Many menstruators as young as 10 years old are facing hurdles to get what they need in school. And if they can't get what they need in school or home, then they simply just won't go to school. I mean, that is the real facts of this. They'll ask a teacher, a friend, any staff member on campus for menstrual hygiene products, as long as they feel safe with them. It was previously suggested that dispensing machines be placed in each one of the girls' bathrooms. Unfortunately, if they are not comfortable with that, they will go with someone who they feel safe with. We need to take the burden off of our teachers and our staff members who have been supplying these products for them for years now, and we need to help them. DOE needs to help, the state needs to help, we all need to help empower our administrators. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have Sarah Milianta Flaffen from Elima Intermediate School Activist Club students in support.
Aloha, thank you so much, committee. My name is Sarah Milianta-Laffen, and I'm here with my students that are going to speak today. Unfortunately, today was SBA testing, so I couldn't get everybody on campus, but I have some awesome kids for you to meet. Nice and loud.
Hi, my name is Bryce Lee, and while I don't have a period, I support everyone and all of my friends who do.
Hello, I am Alana Taylor, and I believe that tampons and pads are both school supplies.
One thing we wanted to comment on that we did add to our testimony, kind of like Moana said, actually we have a menstruation station. Scoot over. So at our school, this is the menstruation station. So it has the pads and tampons that kids need, and there's signs in all the restrooms that they can come get the supplies that they want. We wouldn't have this if it wasn't for donations from people like Moana and I Support the Girls Hawaii and My E-Movement that would let us have this piece. So the idea the kids had was that if you have a student, Hydro told us in their last testimony that it would cost $1 million to put machines for these supplies in restrooms. Well, if you have a student on campus with a peanut allergy, every classroom is required to post this peanut-free zone sign. Every teacher at the beginning of the school year gets a Band-Aid bag from the clinic. It would cost 80 cents per teacher to put 5 pads in the Band-Aid bag and post a sign in the classroom to say, just ask the teacher if you need a Band-Aid bag. That means my school would be pad ready for $36, which is very different than $1 million and the idea that the students had. And it's in our testimony if you'd like to see it more. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Jamie Kapana, an individual in support.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say that I stand by my written testimony, and then if you have any questions, you can let me know. But I support CR 100. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. That is all the testifiers that I have on my Zoom testifier list. We have Planned Parenthood in support. We also have AAUW of Hawaii in support, along with the Hawaii Women's Coalition in support, and a number of individuals, about 16 individuals also testifying in support. Is there anyone else that's wishing to testify on here that may not be on our list? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Department of Education, please. Is DOE still present?
I'm here, but I can't start the video. I guess it's been stopped. So hi, my name is Jennifer Ryan. I'm with the Department of Education. I'm here to respond to any questions.
Thank you for being here. We can hear you, and now we can see you. And so per Elima Intermediate's testimony, they appear to have a much reduced figure than the one that the department presented to several committees. Do you have a response as to why there's such a variance in cost estimates?
Sure, the cost is going to be much lower for a school with a smaller population of students compared to looking at all 294 schools with girls enrolled in grades 5 through 12. And so it's true that the cost to each school will be much lower than the state level cost, but to understand that there is a cost associated with this service, and figuring out where those funds will come from, it's not in our previously approved budget.
Okay, that's understandable. And I'm just thinking, like, if you extrapolate out, then you can come up with a figure that suggests it's much less than what you are offering. Having said that, let's take your figures at face. You say 1.3 for the first initial year, and then $850,000 thereafter. Per the budget sheets that I've seen, I strongly believe that the department can squeeze out that amount of inefficiencies. Even when I look over carryover funds, in which the department actually uses to account for oscillations over operational costs year over year, this is something that I think that the department can absorb. And so I'm just trying to get a better understanding of when you say that passing this type of proposal will have a negative inverse or a negative impact on the Department of Education. Have you looked at some of your budget sheets? You're muted, I believe.
Right. So the cost for the products alone is about $737,000 per year. And I want to remind you, I mean, in our testimony, we described that this is at 14 cents a pad. And so it's not like we're really inflating the price of the product. The reality is that we just have a lot of students. And so and we've received comments in previous testimony that 2 pads per girl per day for 5 days a week may not even be enough. So we're looking at an annual cost of products alone being over $700,000. I don't see that. I don't have that budget. So in response to your question, I don't see it in our current budget.
Okay, well, I'm simply suggesting to you from the sheets I've seen, the department can find $1.3 million just from your carryover funds. And so that there are several pots of money that the department has. I'm not saying that the Department of Education has a lot of extra money, but they most certainly have enough money to move forward with this proposal. And even at 1.3, which again is a figure I don't agree with, but that's the figure that you presented to the public. I would suggest that it's a matter of if this is going to be a priority for the department. But I believe that if we were to statutorily articulate that this be done, that the department would have no challenge finding the funds, even if we didn't provide appropriation language in that bill. Do you have a response for that?
I can only state that I do not have the budget for this, and the Department of Education has not presented this in the BOE approved budget. So I think that there would need to be steps taken in order to find the resources necessary to implement what seems like a really great concept. It's just a matter of making ends meet.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, we're going to move on to SCR 151. Up first, we have DOE, Gordon Miyamoto, in support.
Sorry. Aloha, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Capella, and members of the Education Committee. Gordon Miyamoto testifying on behalf of Superintendent Christina Kishimoto. The DOE stands in support of stands by our written testimony in support of the resolution.
Thank you for your testimony. Up next, we have Scott Young, MD, in support.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members. I'm Genesis Scott Young, Director of Terry and James Young Foundation and Nonviolent Communication for the Next Generation Nonprofits, and I'm here testifying as an individual in support of SR 151. I do stand on my written testimony in support of this resolution. I feel this is a really important resolution because restorative justice is an important principle that will help guide the discipline in schools in a fair and nurturing way. Restorative justice looks at the harms done rather than rules broken and the obligations that result from that harm and how to make that right. This changes the paradigm away from punishment, which has never worked and does not teach what we'd like to teach the kids. Restorative justice decreases suspensions while empowering the students and costs less than retributive justice in the short term and the long term by interrupting the suspensions which lead to the much greater chance of incarceration, and that's called the school to prison pipeline, period. I urge you to please pass this resolution And if you do, I ask you also to please speak to your friends and colleagues in the Finance Committee, the chair and the members, so they will also review and pass this resolution. And it's very cost effective, and it will help our students learn and our schools to teach. Mahalo.
Thank you for being here. That's all I have on my Zoom testifiers list. We do have John Cohn, MD from We Are One Inc. in support, along with a number of other individuals also in support. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, we're going to move on to SCR 152. First up, we have DOE, Terry Ushijima, with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Capella, and members of the committee. I'm Terry Ushijima, Interim Assistant Superintendent with the Department of Education, testifying on behalf of Dr. Christina Kishimoto. We stand on our written testimony and offer comments on SCR 152. We support the teaching of financial literacy in schools. Respectfully, the department requests that instead of focusing on mandating a half-credit course requirement, which reduces a student's elective credit choice, the department be allowed to work with principals and the State Student Council to determine a way to ensure that all students have had the financial literacy education prior to graduating from high school. Thank you for this opportunity to testify on SCR 152.
Thank you for being here. Up next, we have HCUL, Stephanie Sakamoto, in support. Not present. Up next, we have Next Gen Personal Finance, Christian Sherrill, in support.
Hello, everyone. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide supporting testimony. My name is Christian Sherrill, and I'm the Director of Advocacy for Next Gen Personal Finance. We are an endowment-funded nonprofit. I'm actually coming to you today from California. We're based on the West Coast in California. We partner with over 45,000 personal finance teachers in all 50 states, including 115 teachers in Hawaii. We provide free curriculum, free professional development for teachers, and free advocacy tools to help teachers make the case that all young people ought to take a personal finance course. I want to start with a question and then I'll wrap up. How did you learn about money? If you're like me, you learned about it in the school of hard knocks, making very costly mistakes. For me, it was taking out a whole bunch of private student loans at a high interest rate when I was 18 years old. The decisions that high schoolers are making today have long-lasting consequences for their futures. Currently, not a single Hawaii high schooler has access to a guaranteed semester-long personal finance course. Financial education for all Hawaii high schoolers will lead to more and more equitable economic prosperity in your state. In fact, decades of research shows that comprehensive financial education leads to graduates making better financial decisions, unlike me in college, such as higher savings rates, accumulating more assets, having higher credit scores, having lower delinquency rates, choosing lower interest credit products, a decrease in carrying a balance on a credit card, the list goes on. So I urge you to vote yes on SCR 152. Thank you again, and I welcome your questions. You can always reach me at christian@ngpf.org. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony. That's all I have on my Zoom testifiers list. We also have Visa Inc., Marvin Dang in support, along with an individual, Carolina Lamb, also in support. Is there anyone else wishing to provide testimony? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Seeing none, moving on to SCR 198, we have Terry Ushijima with the DOE in support.
Looks like. Thank you. Good afternoon again, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Capella, and members of the committee. Terry Ushijima again, Assistant Superintendent, testifying on behalf of Dr. Christina Kishimoto, Superintendent. We stand on our written testimony in support of SCR 198. We support educating all students in civic, online, reasoning, and media literacy, which is included with the department's statewide computer science digital citizenship education program. The department is dedicated to providing all students with opportunities to learn about computer science and prepare them with the skills and experiences needed for our modern digital world. Thank you for this opportunity to testify on SCR 198.
Thank you for being here. That's all we have on our Zoom testifiers list. Are there any questions, members? Seeing none, moving on to our last measure today, SCR 203. Up first, we have He'e Coalition, Sherry Nakamura in support.
Aloha Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Capella, and members of the committee. My name is Sherry Nakamura, Director of He'e Coalition. We are testifying in support of SCR 203. We support the BOE forming a permitted interaction group to monitor and account for how the DOE is spending its federal relief funds. While the BOE has a Finance and Infrastructure Committee which looks at policies regarding financial operations, we feel that an investigative group made up of the chair and the committee chairs would be appropriate since the federal monies can be used broadly across the system. We would like to encourage that the BOE create strategic and systematic guidance for these funds, particularly because they are one-time funds that we want to use effectively. We provide some suggestions in our written testimony, like creating a near, mid, and long-term framework for the usage of funds. Also, if the BOE should need additional staff to conduct strategic analysis, perhaps it could consider using some of the federal funds for this purpose. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you for being here today. Up next, we have HSTA Laverne Moore in support.
Aloha, Laverne Moore speaking on behalf of Corey Rosenlee, President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. We stand on our written testimony in support of this resolution. This is an excellent practice to institute for when the legislature is not in session. This special committee or interaction group will monitor and ensure that these funds and any new funds become available are being used according to the priorities of the Board of Ed that has set it and are followed by the Department of Education. The HSD asks your committee to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. That's all I have for my Zoom testifiers list. We do have one other individual, Cheryl B, also in support, but that's it. Are there any other people wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Majority Leader Belatti.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the Board of Education that can comment on this resolution or on any processes the Board of Education has adopted for identifying and explaining how they are going to be using federal funds coming in? If there's no one, that's unfortunate. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, we are going to recess for decision making to get quorum. Recess. Decision making on our agenda. First up, we have STR 9, SD2. As testifiers have indicated, sexual violence at the University of Hawaii is skyrocketing. The University of Hawaii's 2019 climate survey showed that approximately 3,600 students have experienced campus-based sexual assault. That's 500 more than the last 2 years prior. So we know that things have only gotten worse during the pandemic. I'm concerned that UH has continuously misrepresented the facts of the issue at the legislature this year, including the process for reversing Trump's Title IX rules and the role of survivors and service providers in providing and responding to sexual violence on campus. We need to do better when it comes to Title IX enforcement at both the university and within our public schools. So for this reasons alone, I am recommending that we pass this resolution unamended. And I hope that its next committee, the Judiciary Committee, gives it very strong consideration. So members, are there any questions? Seeing none, Chair Woodson for the vote.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on SCR 9 SD2, the recommendation is to pass as is, noting the excused absent Representative Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Lottie.
Aye.
Representative DeCoy, excused. Representative Gannigan. Representative Gates, excused. Representative Hashimoto. Representative Ono, excused. Representative Quinlan, excused. Representative Takayama.
Aye.
Representative Yamane. Representative Okibono.
Aye.
Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to SCR 38. Vice Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, Chair Woodson for the vote.
Thank you, Chair. Members voting on SCR 38 SD1, the Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended, noting the instances of Representatives DeCoy, Gates, Ono, and Quinlan. Members, are any noes or reservations? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to SCR 100. Vice Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, Chair Woodson for the vote.
Thank you. Voting on SCR 100, the recommendation is to pass as is, noting the excused absences of Representatives DeCoy, Gates, Ono, and Quinlan. Are there any noes or reservations? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to SCR 151 SD2. Vice Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Members, are there any questions? Chair for the vote.
Thank you, members. Voting on SCR 151 SD1, the recommendation is to pass unamended, and the excused absences of Representatives DeCoy, Gates, Ono, and Quinlan. Members, are there any reservations or no? Okay, duly noted. Any other reservations or no's? Recommendation adopted.
Moving on to SCR 152. Vice Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended. Members, are there any questions? Chair Woodson for the vote.
Thank you, members. Voting on SCR 152, the recommendation is to pass as is, noted the excused absences of Representative DeCoy, Gates, Ono, and Quinlan. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Moving on to SCR 198. Vice Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Members, are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Chair Woodson for the vote.
Thank you, members. Voting on SCR 198, the recommendation is to pass as is, noting the excused absences of Representatives DeCoy, Gates, Ono, and Quinlan. Are there any reservations or no's? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to our final measure, SCR 203. Vice Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Members, are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Chair Woodson for the vote.
Thank you, members. Voting on SCR 203, the recommendation is to pass as is, noting the excused absences of Representatives DeCoy, Gates, Ono, and Quinlan. Members, are there any reservations or no's? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. We're adjourned.